Is love a disease? This is Felicity Was Here. Welcome back to Felicity Was Here. I'm Heather,
I'm Melissa.
and I'm Dr. Joe. And today we're discussing Felicity Season 2, Episode 6, The Love Bug. Hello, ladies. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I'm a little sad we didn't get a Halloween episode this
Yeah.
season, but, we always have Thanksgiving to look forward to, so.
I guess. That's true. I just love Halloween
Whatever.
episodes of any, show. I feel like it
Yeah.
just really gets me in the mood.
Yes, that's always the best.
What are you all doing for Halloween?
I don't know yet. You tell me first.
Well, Melissa's actually got a kid, so
Yeah,
I'm assuming you're doing
I
something
am
fun.
taking her trick-or-treating. So our neighborhood, we, fill up a wagon with booze, and all the adults walk around drinking while the kids
Mm.
trick-or-treat. It's very fun.
Like a wagon filled with booze and
Yeah.
you just walk around
Yeah.
and drink?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
Just the
that.
booze wagon. You gotta have it.
That sounds fun.
Suburban parents know how to do Halloween right. Yeah, we have a good time.
I just learned something today. Cool.
Right.
It's not going to make me have a kid, but
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, we welcome anyone can do it.
that sounds great.
I've heard of, the parents sit at the end of the driveway with,
Mhm.
chairs and candy and a cooler, but I haven't heard of the wagon. I
Yeah.
like that aspect. That's fun.
Yeah,
Traveling,
see?
drinking.
And then mostly eating her candy because we don't let her have that much yet. She turned 3,
Probably
so
for the
she's
best.
not, a candy fiend yet.
Yet.
What's her costume this year?
She's going to be a little leopard. She's really
Aw.
excited about it, and it's, one of those onesies, so it's all warm and snug, which I love. So I think I'm just gonna wear,
Excellent
black cat ears and be a sexy cat mom,
Aw.
Right.
You're gonna do a Julie and be Catwoman?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Not that sexy.
Keep it PG out
I'm
of
sure your
those
husband
suburb
is
streets.
disappointed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
What
Well, yeah, I don't have any kids, so I'm not trick or treating, but just reading all the mystery and cozy thriller books
Mhm.
and watching all my movies. I watched Nightmare Before Christmas last night with Professor McGrath, so got
Yay.
that one in. And I have Don't Look Under the Bed on
Mhm.
my watch list as well, of course, since we talked about it last time.
Excellent.
I watched it since then. I watched it the day after you guys told me to.
Did it scare
Or
you?
I watched it that night, maybe, yeah. Well, I had it on in the background while I was editing, so
Sure.
I didn't get super, super scared, but I could see the appeal.
For
I
kids?
had not seen a single second of that movie before you told me about it. And it was completely out of my awareness.
I mean, it never got to, High School Musical heights, you know? It was an original Disney Channel original movie that I think flew under the radar, and, even Halloween Town, I think, has a bigger cult following, but
I've heard of that one,
Don't
yeah.
Look Under the Bed.
I appreciate that. Just been trying to binge the show Sleepy Hollow. That's been very exciting
Oh.
because it's a little bit funny, but it's still spooky, so it's lots of good fun.
I only saw the pilot. I don't know why I didn't keep watching, but yeah, I think maybe the, modern day timing of it, setting through me. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't keep watching it, but I also didn't realize it ran for, 4 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had a solid run. I was excited to see that because I had always wanted to watch the show. I just didn't. It was just one of those things I didn't do. So I'm catching up, making up for lost time now.
Actually might be a good one because the original cartoon Legend of Sleepy Hollow,
I
with
loved
Ichabod
it.
Crane, so good. Bing Crosby,
Yes.
amazing. But then the Tim Burton movie Sleepy Hollow, way too scary for me. I
Oh,
can't watch
I
that
like
one.
that one.
It's so gory. I can't handle it.
I liked it.
I think you could totally digest the show
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Very accessible.
Well, you know what else is scary? Mono.
Oh, dun dun dun.
You like my transition? No.
I thought you were gonna be like, your face.
Do something about that.
Heather, haven't you had
Mm.
mono, many times?
Mono? Me? No.
Oh, I thought for sure you had
What?
mono. I've never had it, so I can't really relate to
I don't think anyone's had it.
Okay.
I was gonna get to this, but I think it's an
Okay.
urban legend.
Oh, okay.
Because I also don't know anyone that got mono in college, and,
Yeah.
like, I feel like it was the biggest thing going into college that all the parents were like, "Oh, you're gonna get mono if you kiss people," and, like, I don't know anyone that got it.
Yeah, it seemed like a very college thing, but no.
Yeah, but I almost feel like I remember somebody getting it in high school. I feel like I'm aware of it, not just because of the show, but, like, I feel like it did exist in real
Mm.
life, just, like, way far away from me.
But to bring it back to Halloween, I think it's like the razor blades being hidden in candy, like, it was, like, this panic for parents, but, like, never really happened that much,
Mm.
but it just got, like, overblown as, like, this big thing that could happen. I feel like that's what mono
We have to
was.
do a poll. Ask our viewers, have you had mono?
It's a good idea.
Yes, and not just, like, I knew someone who knew someone who had
Mhm.
like, you had to have
Yeah,
gotten
like,
it.
have you had it?
Yeah.
I've got so much to say about mono, but I don't know if you want me to say it now or after the cold
I
open.
will leave that up to you. You have to follow your heart on that one.
Is this, like, scientific research about mono?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
shit.
She looked up
a
the
little bit. I
mononucleosis.
did
Oh my
yes, the
god.
one. That's the one.
So I actually went with my freshman year roommate to our health services and got the vaccine for one of them. It's the one that, like, can really, like, kill you, like, mess up your brain. It's
Yeah, the
the
brain.
bacterial meningitis. Oh, that's
That's scary.
meningitis,
Yeah.
not
Okay,
mono.
yeah,
Never
okay, yeah,
mind.
I'm like,
Forget
that's
it.
scary stuff.
Yeah, mono. No one got mono. Well, let's get into it. As a reminder, last week, Felicity went on a blind date with her professor's son, David. And even though the first date didn't go very well, they did end up hitting it off on a second makeup date. Meanwhile, Ben started sleeping with an older woman, Maggie. Those were the most important things last week. There was also some Crash Bandicoot, but that's over now. So, The Love Bug was written by Paul Guyot, I don't know how to pronounce that. Maybe it's French and it's like Guyot, but Paul Guyot and J.J. Abrams wrote it and directed by Larry Trilling, who is a very frequent director on the show. So we open with an RA meeting with all the advisees, and Felicity and Megan are talking about how stressful midterms can be. Carl, the hypochondriac, pipes up and asks, "What if you get sick during midterms?" And Felicity says, "Well, go to health services and get checked out. But if you're asking if your professors will feel sorry for you and take pity on you on your midterms, they will not." And Megan's brilliant advice was just don't get sick. And then Carl asks a follow up. He asks what mono feels like. Another advisee pipes up and says, "She had it and it's awful. You know it when you have it. Fever chills. Basically, you can't even stand up." And Carl was already standing, but at that, he falls over. So, that's kind of curious that he just happens to, realize he shouldn't be able to stand up
Yeah,
as a hypochondriac. But yeah, he falls over.
that's amusing.
So maybe he's got mono.
Maybe.
Maybe.
He might could. Okay, so I guess I'll, regale you with the tales of mono. Did you all know that mono is short for mononucleosis, as Heather
Yes.
mentioned? And guess what? You're never gonna believe this. It's an infection of the Epstein-Barr virus. Dun, dun, dun.
You are joking.
I'm not joking. I wish I was. I'm already sweaty. Okay, how many minutes in and I'm already sweaty?
Wait, so Epstein-Barr is what, a form of mono?
It's the virus
Mm.
that causes mono.
Wow.
That's
I
kinda
know. See,
crazy.
and I had said something about Epstein-Barr a long, long time ago, but I was just like, "Oh, I don't remember what the thing is," but, like, Epstein-Barr is something. But that's an infection with the Epstein-Barr virus is what it says, so I don't know if it causes it or if it's alongside it or whatever. It just says with.
Damn.
Anyway, symptoms include fatigue, fever, rash, swollen glands, headaches, nausea, and the treatment is just rest fluids, over-the-counter pain and fever-reducing meds. So it's not like you can really, prescribe something for it. You kinda just have to be like, "Here's some Tylenol, go feel better."
Yeah, like any
Mm.
cold virus or any
Yeah.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to last 2 to 4 weeks. In rare cases, symptoms can last 6 months or more. So it's a pretty short-term-ish. It could be, I mean, like 4 weeks would be a long time to be feeling, like, really busted up, but I thought it was interesting, and I'll come back around to this later, but 6 months is kinda like you're getting on the max end of things.
But I
Anyway,
think the Maxent, like, that's the urban legend you always hear about is, like, you get mono
Mhm.
and you're sick
like,
for
you get
3
destroyed.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it can lead to chronic fatigue syndrome,
Mm.
so that's another
I
thing
feel
too.
like I have
So
that always.
Mono or chronic fatigue?
Yeah, both, man.
You're like,
I
"Yes."
am chronically fatigued.
that stuff's serious. I can help you with that. I've got just the crystal, just kidding.
Oh, no. No.
Well,
It's
and I think
okay.
because more women get chronic fatigue syndrome, it's not studied as much.
Under
And yeah,
researched,
under
yeah.
research, underdiagnosed. People are like, "Oh, you're just stressed out." Anyway, don't get me started.
Nor I. Well, do you wanna hear my theory, my symbolism theory for the episode now, and, like, so I can drop bombs throughout the episode or what?
Yes, Dr. Joe,
Yes.
is love a disease?
Yes! According to Freud, and I'll get there. So so my idea about all of this is that mono is a stand-in for getting hurt in relationships for, like, heartbreak and sadness and all that, because so love bug, and it's also mono's known as the kissing disease is the other way you can call it, but I was thinking about love bug, and then I was thinking about love sick, like, being love sick, and that has to do with extreme sadness or depression due to unrequited love or a failed romantic relationship or the absence of somebody, but I thought that was really cool. So I was like, what's up with that? And can also be involving neurotransmitters. So there's your hard science. So when we're in love, we, have the oxytocin and all the, yummy neurotransmitters that make us feel all warm and fuzzy. But when we're lovesick, we also have problems. And so I'm kind of saying that being in love or being lovesick are both kind of like physical conditions, just like mono's a physical condition. So it's like gonna all come together and make a lot more sense as we go through the episode. But that's where my little theory is that mono is a stand-in for heartbreak and love sickness. Hence the love bug. It's like both things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. My mind was going in a similar place, more around the, like, letting your defenses down to let love in, like, your immune system has to come down to let sickness in, like, you have a guard up, your immune system's your guardrails, not letting anything in, and, like, well, we might get there later, but yeah, like, David was not ready to let someone else in, he was afraid of getting hurt, right? And so, to me, it was
Yeah,
like,
just
yeah,
like
you have to, like,
yeah.
let your walls down to let love in, just like your immune system, like, walls break to get sick, so that's where my mind
Kind
was going, was,
kind
like,
of,
the immune
yeah.
system and guards.
Well, I was thinking about that concept of keeping somebody at arm's length
Mhm.
is like keeping your emotional, vulnerable distance from somebody. But that's also like when somebody gets sick, we're like, well, take a step back. We literally will put our hands up and take a step back and be like, stay away from me. And that arm's length thing kind of mirrors that, I thought. So I thought that was just really cool. I had more to say, but I got a little bit derailed. But let's just say that this was brilliant. I love what the writers did in this aspect. I think they fumbled so hard in so many places and other parts of this episode,
Yeah.
but I thought that that was a really unique way to kind of convey that guardedness. Like, we don't want to get sick, we don't want to get heartbroken. And it's just, I thought it was such a great parallel for this episode.
Love it. So when we come back from the commercial break.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Speaking of crystals and stuff, I don't know if anybody noticed, but during the little floor meeting, Megan had would look to be like a little voodoo doll, but I looked it up. I'm like, wait, do they have that in like Wiccan stuff? And they have something, but it's called a
A
puppet. It's not called a voodoo doll. It's called
puppet?
well, and I oh, hello, pulpit. I almost no, I think it's puppet. My mind just went there. I actually was Googling voodoo doll too, because I was like, is there a more politically correct term for that these days? I just
right,
didn't know,
right.
because I'm like, I don't know if like voodoo
That's
doll
what
is
I was trying to figure
appropriate.
out.
And yeah, like
Right.
from my research, it looked like it doesn't, those dolls don't even come from voodoo. So I was just like, I'm not gonna bring it up because I don't know what to call it these days. So a puppet, that's good.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think
There's
who
a
do you
thing.
think was Megan was stabbing there? Carl?
Obviously,
Felicity,
Oh,
Carl.
Felicity.
Oh, uh,
Oh. I was thinking Carl.
yeah, he fell over.
perhaps.
She made it happen.
She gave him mono.
It's not bullshit. Magic's real.
So then, yeah, after the RA meeting, Felicity starts her tape to Sally. It says, "Dear Sally, why hasn't David kissed me?" She tells Sally that they had dinner twice last week. They saw a movie. They talk on the phone every night. So she wonders if it's the ex-girlfriend thing, if he's just afraid to get involved again. We see David walk Felicity to her door after another date, and he asks her out to lunch the next day. Which I gotta say, closing the deal on the next date at the end of a date, 10 out of
Mm.
10. That's a good move. I approve. That's what you want to see. However, he just says, "I'll call you tomorrow," and leaves. Like, we do see him turn back to like look at her as she's going into the room, but he just, yeah, says like good night and leaves. And I thought this was really interesting since in the last episode I mentioned that it felt so intimate to me them
Mhm.
holding hands right after, like, a second date, which was really, like, a first good date, and, like, now they don't even get a hug goodbye, kiss on the cheek, like, it was
Hmm.
just like, "Okay,
Mhm.
see you later." Like,
Mhm.
I just thought it was a weird
So
step back.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to my theory of, like, he really doesn't wanna get hurt, so there's that guardedness, and, like, again, like, when somebody's sick, we avoid physical contact with them at all costs,
Mhm.
and, he's avoiding physical contact. He's not hugging her, he's not kissing her, he's not holding her hand, like, all that stuff, so the other thing, I think it reeks of insecurity because when he asks her, he's like, "It's with me is the catch."
Mhm.
Like, so he's still even being, like, that self-deprecating, like, "Haha, like, you gotta go out to lunch with me, huh?" And also, when he turns and looks back, when he turns back around to keep walking the direction he's going away from her, he hangs his head down so fucking low. It's like at a 90-degree angle. It's like or 45 degree wait, what's the thing? It's like
It's
his
down.
head's completely the fuck bent
Yeah.
over. Like, it looks like it's his neck's broken. He hangs his head so low, and I'm like, "Wow, you've got no self-esteem,
Mm.
buddy. That sucks."
And I think he wants to, he just
Yeah.
doesn't have the guts
Yeah.
to do it. He was, like, pissed at himself,
Mhm.
kind of.
Perhaps that, yeah. Like, yeah, he just can't quite do it. Yeah, but there's so much fear there.
Mhm.
But I think also a self-esteem problem if he's like, "Oh, you gotta go with me."
Well, yeah, it sounds like the last girlfriend did do a number on him.
Well, that sounded like an outrageous story, so I would imagine he'd be kinda wrecked for quite some time.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's gotten as far as he has already
I
with
mean,
Felicity,
yeah,
honestly.
Professor Sherman wanted it to happen.
Yeah, it's been a few months. Like, he didn't say year, like, he's like, "I haven't been on a date in months." Like a few, like 2, 3, 4, like, how many months are we talking here?
Yeah, I guess we don't really know.
It doesn't seem long enough, clearly.
Yeah. So then at Elena's, Elena asks Felicity how new guy is, which is David. She's calling him new guy now, and Julie's there too to all get breakfast and girl talk. But Felicity says that she's confused about new guy. Just then, Noel and Ruby walk in, and they're mid conversation. Ruby's telling Noel that he's overreacting about something. Shocker. Apparently, a shifty looking guy walked up to them in the park and asked Ruby if she wanted to audition for a movie. The girls are really excited for her, but Noel is obviously thinking like this is a serial killer and he's freaked out for her. But Ruby says that she's not going to call him though. She's too busy with midterms, but the girls are still interested, asking her if she's going to do it. Julie asks Ruby if he gave her a business card. She pulls it out. Julie's like, "Oh yeah, this looks totally legit." I don't know. I think I side with Noel on this
Oh, yeah.
one. Like, it just sounds so New York, like, "Here, I'll come take your photo,
Yeah.
like, behind a Taco Bell." Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust it, so I don't blame Noel here.
Yeah.
Right at Taco Bell. I like how they look at the business card and like, "That
I
looks
know.
legit,"
What
but, like,
about it
now
looks legit?
anybody can print a business
Yeah.
card that's, like that's not a hard thing to do,
Mhm.
Noel
like,
coulda
you just
done it back then too. Like,
Mhm.
he's a graphic he coulda
exactly.
designed it and printed it.
And I feel like it would be
Yeah.
maybe slightly more legit if it was like, "Hey, do you wanna be a model or something?" But this was, like, for a movie, and he didn't even find out if she had any acting talent or whatever. He just saw her. Like, "You could be an actor, sure." Be like, "Is this for a porno? Like, what's happening?"
What
Yes!
kind of acting? Yeah, like,
Exactly.
what kind of film are we talking about? That's funny.
So then Elena asks Felicity about new guy again, and they're whispering so Noel doesn't hear. And Felicity says that he hasn't kissed her yet. Elena says, "Yeah, but do you want him to?" So then Noel does approach and asks, like, "What are you guys talking about? That movie guy?" And they all kind of giggle and stop talking, I guess, openly about it. But Felicity says back to Elena, she says, "The answer to your question is definitely." And they all giggle like children.
Exactly. I was like, "How old are these people?"
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they put up a little fort and hang up a little sign that said, "No boys allowed"? Why are you acting like little girls, like, at a little sleepover? Like, this is
Mm.
ridiculous. Also, why the hell is Julie there? Why is she just in the mix all of a sudden? Do they have a class together, like a mutual class? Like, I don't see this in real life happening that Julie would just be like, "Oh, let's just all do a study group," like let's just support each other's studying for completely different fucking classes. Elena and Felicity don't even have a class together anymore, right? Like
But I think
she's
Elena
in
and Julie are friends because it was like Elena, Noel, and Julie hanging out at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just a thing just to make some
Set it
conflict
up,
happen
yeah.
earlier, just to show some contrast stuff. Because 'cause I'm like, what classes do they even have together? I don't it doesn't make sense to me realistically that she would be, like, doing, like, a little study group thing with them.
And Felicity
Whatever,
had
she's
called her
there.
from the date last week.
I know, I just don't like it. I just think it's a little bit flimsy. I just think it's
Yes.
flimsy. I don't not like it because I don't like Julie or something. I want to see more substance there to justify her presence.
I mean, that was, like, the only scene she had this week, right? So, they probably
Well,
just,
the
like,
same too
threw her
many.
in
It didn't
there.
make any sense.
One
Whatever.
too many.
Ah, yes.
But just this idea that it's like, oh, he's like, is this girl talk or whatever? And I'm like, it's like they're not talking about their periods. Like, why is talking about trying to date some guy such a big thing? And like, why are they whispering? Like,
But
what
also,
is this?
like, Elena in so many previous episodes, like, forces the issue, like, forces Felicity and Noel to talk about who they're dating in front of each other. So I'm like, why is this all of a sudden now a secret that she's talking to new guy?
Exactly.
That felt weird to me. Like, Elena's like, "Hey, you guys getting any?" Like, she wants them to talk about it openly, and
Yeah.
now they are, and it was like, "Psst, psst, psst, psst." But yeah, I
But
thought it
if I
was
was
weird.
Ruby, I'd be like, why are we
Yeah,
whispering? Like, it
that's fair
doesn't make
too.
any fucking sense. Like, why didn't she pick up on that and be like, what is this? Like,
Why are
why
you
are we
whispering?
being secretive about
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's the kind of exact scene that I would have expected in any other show, and it would just be so stupid, like, yeah, we don't know why we're whispering, we're being idiots, like, what? And just this idea of insecurity rears its head again, because one of the points that Ruby makes about auditioning or not auditioning, she's like, "I'd never get it, whatever it is." So, there's just, like, lots of insecurity in this episode, as there are in many episodes apparently, like, there's so much insecurity in this entire series.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
teenagers, so yeah.
I was just gonna say, how many of us were super secure in college?
I'm still not, and I'm double.
Uh,
I'm double that age.
I'm the biggest, like, imposter syndrome imposter person ever, so I completely get it. It's just really fascinating to see so many sprinkles of it, more than I have ever recognized before in my life. I'm like, "Wow," it's, like, hitting me in the face over and over again.
Well, then we go back to Maggie's kitchen where she's teaching someone how to bake, apparently, and Japan calls her. All of a sudden, I don't know. She like,
Japan's online
yeah,
one.
like she fulfills orders in Japan now. I don't know. But Ben drops by. So when she gets off the phone and sees him, she gets really squirmy in front of her employee. So she does get her employee to leave the room to call some client. And Ben asks if she speaks a lot of languages since he overheard her speaking Japanese. But she's not in the mood to joke around. She asks what he's doing there, and he says, "Oh, do I need a reason to visit you?" Maggie says that it's her work and, oh, she needs to maintain a professional image in front of her employees, which I burst out laughing because I'm like, "Didn't you bring him
yeah.
there multiple times?"
Weren't you
Like,
force feeding a tart in his mouth just on the same table? Like, what?
Gulp.
yeah. So I'm like, "Well, that's the only place you've let him go to, so that's why he's visiting you there." Like, shouldn't be a surprise. And then, of course, she grabs his face and kisses him right there because she has to be professional,
Yeah.
and then pushes him away, very push and pull. She says she can't believe she's kissing a college boy. And Ben says that she needs to get over this age thing. He says if he were older and she were younger, no one would think twice about it, which, fact, like, that is true. But also, like, that's also icky. It's just for some reason more acceptable in our
Right,
society.
right. Less so now
Less,
than it
yeah.
was then, but definitely he's onto something with that.
Yeah, like, it's a fair point.
Yeah,
But she tells him, "Not here, not now," and she leaves the room.
I love all the contrast here. She's very the opposite of insecure in some ways. I mean, she's got this insecurity, seemingly insecurity about their age difference, but whatever, we'll get there when we get there.
Mhm.
She's very controlling and very precise. She's not teaching that person how to bake. She's like, keep the swirls tight. Don't let any air out, out of the bag or in the bag or whatever. Like she's very like demanding and controlling and precise. And even the Japanese thing kind of contrasting with Ben, it's not just highlighting a difference in their age, but it's highlighting a difference in ability and experience, like life experience. Cause oh, I lived in Tokyo for a couple of years.
Oh,
Like,
for
oh,
sure.
okay. Okay, hoity toity. Like, you're so cool. Like, you're so well traveled. It's like, but that's also bizarre. Like, who does that? Like, much like Mono, do we know anybody who lives in Tokyo? Yes, I do. But whatever, that's besides the point. It's just like one of those things like that's extra like laying it on thick how different they are and
Oh, yeah.
they come from different worlds and stuff like
Well,
that.
especially because he was like, "I haven't even mastered English yet," like,
That's what I was thinking. I
yeah.
said, this boy ain't no English. Remember when he failed that poetry class? I was like, this boy talking about let me go learn some yeah, oh
Doing a
my gosh. You don't
soliloquy on a
even know
sandwich.
you don't even fucking know English, dude. Like you fail your English classes and yeah, whatever.
Felicity
I
had to
was like,
cheat
that's
for you.
adorable. Exactly. Well, she didn't have to, that was
I'm
a big
kidding.
fuck up.
Yes.
But I know exactly what you're saying, like, that's so
He
much,
would have
but
gotten
yeah,
a
her
B on the paper. He wasn't bad. Yeah.
exactly, I think about that all the time, I was thinking about that while I was washing my face the other day, I'm like, "Damn, he would've gotten a
Oh
fucking
my
B."
god.
That poor boy. People are constantly underestimating, but he does look so young in this scene, like, he compare it's his fucking haircut. His hair is so short, and the way he's smiling and being his little goofy little Ben self and his shorter hair, he looks so different compared to the first season when it was longer and he was a little bit more intense, and he looked much older in the first season compared to these scenes with Maggie. I'm like, "Wow, you look like a baby boy, like, you look like a little kid," and obviously they did that on
Mhm.
purpose, but it's just like, ew.
I told
And it's like it's the goofy, jokey dialogue
yeah.
too. Like, they're really
Mhm.
laying it on thick. Like, "Well, I haven't
Yeah,
mastered English yet. He, he."
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But her body language too is really like she's looking down, she's avoiding eye contact with him, she's turning away, her tone of voice is very like sharp and like short with him and stuff, like when she's not, grabbing his face, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot going on here with her.
I mean, the controlling thing is interesting for me. What I just noticed though was like how confusing she must be to him because
Yes!
one second she's like, "That was a great night. This was a one night thing. Goodbye," and then she's calling him over again, and then it's,
Yep.
"What are you doing here?" Like, "I have to be professional," and then it's kissing him, and then it's, "Okay, now I'm gonna leave the room. We can't do this here." It's like, "Well, you kissed me,"
It's
like it. She's just
it's all
she's so
part it's
annoying.
all of her
Yeah,
grooming tactics. That's what they do.
yeah,
They leave you wanting
Yeah,
more.
keeping him off balance.
yep.
Yeah, and just yeah, so uncertain and so confused. Yeah, she's nailing it. She's doing a great job being confusing and weird. Barf.
Barf. Big barf. Then back at Felicity's room, Felicity and David come back to find Megan under the covers, under lots of piles of covers, and she says that she has mono. Which also, did any of these people go and get tested, or are they just assuming they have mono because Carl says he's got mono? I'm just like, go to the doctor, see what it could just be a cold, but she's got mono apparently. David says, "Oh my God, I knew a guy that had mono for 7 months." Again, 7 months? That sounds like it's even longer
That
than
sounds
the normal.
excessive.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I wanted to bring up too, because it's like when you think about people getting over breakups, like how long does that take?
Mm,
It doesn't take 2 to 4 weeks. It takes months.
mhm.
Like if it was depending on how serious the relationship was. So I thought that was another just interesting little parallel to be like, oh, are you talking about your friend or yourself?
David also says that he believes everything is airborne. You cannot sleep here tonight, he tells her. He says, "Why don't you stay at my place?" Right then, Noel busts in and says that Ruby called the killer, which is the movie studio guy, and now he's sending over sides, whatever that means. So then he notices David, and Felicity introduces David to Noel. They're very pleasant. Noel's kind of looking him up and down a little bit, but nothing like rude. But then Megan groans, and Felicity tells Noel that she has mono, and he too says, "Oh my god, like, I had it freshman year." Felicity asks, "Was it bad?" Noel says, "Well, it wasn't good." So David says, "Okay, that's it, like, please stay at my apartment tonight." And Felicity does say yes, right in front of Noel, so again, a little bit of tension, but, like, there was nothing bad, it was just kinda like, "Oh, okay, interesting, like, who's this guy?" And I also think that that was really fast of David, like, you're not gonna hug her, but, like, now come sleep over. I just thought it was like, that was fast to jump to that point now, after doing
Well,
nothing after, like, 4 or 5 dates.
he didn't tell her to pack her
Yeah,
lingerie. It seemed like he was just
right.
trying to protect her.
I don't
But
know, I'm
yeah.
with Javier, but continue.
Well, I find it curious that Noel's expression when he's meaning like, "Oh, this is David," and he's like, "Yeah, stay over at my place. Yeah, okay, fine." He absolutely would not have made that face if that was a new female friend of hers that he was being introduced to for the first time, and she was offering to, have Felicity sleep over. It's just like there is something there. There's definitely it's not like a wild like he didn't punch him in the face or anything, but he was making some little faces behind
Yeah, I mean,
his
he was,
back.
like, looking him up and down because obviously they aren't just friends, or Felicity doesn't wanna be just friends.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm, mhm. Felicity or Noel. You
Felicity or
said
Noel what?
Felicity obviously doesn't wanna be just friends, but I was thinking like Noel also obviously doesn't wanna
Oh, I
just be
meant
friends.
Felicity obviously doesn't wanna be just friends with David, and so that's why Noel
Ah,
is.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay, because I was like, "Girl, something's up, something's up."
Yeah. Then Adina DeLuca, Felicity's talking about David to Javier, and Javier doesn't like what's going on. He says that she can stay at his place. He wants to, like, get the little pullout out for her and have a little slumber party with Felicity. But she says that she wants to stay at David's. She likes him. But Javier says it sounds like a scheme to get her into bed. And I do agree. But
Which is hilarious. Like, why would you think that, Heather? Because he's not even kissing her or holding her
okay,
hand or hugging her anymore.
but how many friends does she have that she can stay over? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they haven't.
Well, I've got a complaint about that too.
Okay.
Like, she doesn't have a lot of friends. Like, she's gonna, what, is she gonna go stay at Julie's room?
No, but she has Noel
Like,
and Elena. She could go stay
then,
there. She could stay
well,
at
why
the
didn't,
loft on the couch if things got desperate. But just the fact that like David immediately was like, "Oh, come stay at my place." Like, of course he knows what he wants to happen. He just didn't have the guts to get there yet. But it's a ploy. It's still a ploy. He's not
I
just
think
being like
that's a layer.
super generous and like, "Oh yeah, you can, I'll sleep on the." I mean, of course he's not gonna make her do anything she doesn't want to do, but he's got hopes. It's a scheme.
He could have done anything anytime, like, for a whole bunch of dates now, though, and he didn't. So why
He
would
doesn't
he?
have follow through, but he's making plans. He's trying to.
I
I
don't
don't think so,
know.
Heather. I think you're reaching.
That's like the most flimsy,
Yeah.
weakest thing I've heard you say this entire podcast.
Yeah.
That he wants
There
to
are
sleep.
I just don't see it.
He would have been working his way up
Yeah.
to that by now, I think.
I
Like,
mean,
he
that's
could have
why I
been,
thought
like,
it was
doing the
so
moves
weird
at
that
her.
like he just jumped to the home base there.
A friendly enough guy. Like, it seems like if you were kinda dating someone and, like, in a quasi-boyfriend position, I would expect my quasi-boyfriend to be like, "Hey, why don't you stay at my place?" Even if,
Yeah.
like, nothing crazy was going on, I would expect them to kinda be chivalrous and step in and try to protect me and
Mhm.
help me, like, not, like, bang my brains
Yeah.
out, which probably he could if he wanted to, but that's besides the
And they've
point.
been hanging out so frequently, like, they had a date, and then he was
Yeah,
like,
like,
"Let's
almost
hang out
daily, it seems like.
tomorrow." Like,
Exactly, exactly. So it's like, why don't you just
mhm,
spend the
mhm.
night? Like, I don't think it was sleazy at all. Like, he does
I'm not
not
saying it's
give, like,
sleazy, but
sleazy
I
vibes
think
or
it
anything.
was he saw an opportunity.
He could have invited her over every night, though. He didn't need an excuse,
Yeah, he could have, but
but
he
he
did it
didn't.
this
So that's
time.
what I don't think that's what it's about. I think he did it this time because he was trying to help her not get sick.
Mhm.
Because he seems like the kind of person who's like, "I don't like getting sick."
Okay,
Like
Right.
Alina.
okay, good.
I mean, he had the personal story of, "Oh, I knew someone who had it for 7 months." Like, this is
Exactly!
I don't
bad.
think he's a bad guy. I just think, yeah, like he's like, "Oh, here's a good opportunity." I think he's just taking opportunity. And he regrets not doing something sooner, as we saw by the look on his face when he dropped her off the other day. He
But did we even see him kiss her goodbye, like, even now in this scene or any other scene?
no.
Like, yeah, so, like, that doesn't, this is not adding up. The math isn't mathing, like, you've gone too far this time.
You've got
You can have any other argument you've had this entire podcast, but not this. This is too much.
I'd rather be this wrong about this than about Noel stuff, so that's fine, you can have it.
Okay, good. Oh, that was a close one. Man, I got sweaty twice just now.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Fuck.
sure.
Well, Javier does think that David's scheming. So then David calls for Felicity at the Dina DeLuca phone, which I think is funny. Even back then, is that something people did? Like, when
She
there
doesn't
were
have a
no
cell
when there
phone.
no
What's he
cell
gonna do?
Yeah, but it's like, you're gonna I guess, she needed to know that his apartment was being
He
fumigated,
had some
but
urgent
I guess it
information.
was urgent. I don't know, I just, like, is
Timely,
that what you
you
do
know.
back then? Call him at work?
Yeah,
So
that's hot.
Javier hands the phone to Felicity, and he's trying to figure out what they're talking about. He's like, "Oh, what are they doing? What are they what is he saying?" And he gets out his little notepad and, like, writes a note down and, like, shows it to Felicity, and Felicity doesn't know what he's writing. She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and he looks at it. He's like, "Oh, it's Spanish," and it's so cute. I love Javier.
So funny.
So
Even before that, she's like, "Is it David?" He's like, "No, it's David." So funny when he handed her the phone
or it's
even.
the guy I don't trust. She's like, "David?" He's like, "No, it's David." Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. He was killing me.
And so Felicity says, something about she understands and gets off the phone and tells Javier that David said that his apartment is getting fumigated, so she can no longer stay there now. So Felicity decides to sleep on the couch in the lobby of Kelvin instead.
Yeah, his apartment's getting fumigated because he's got bugs. Love bugs, as in he's lovesick. Dun, dun,
So,
dun.
okay, so you don't think it was a scheme or
No.
or an opportunity, a plan to have her come over so he could finally seal the deal. Now, do you
No.
believe that his apartment was being fumigated?
I'm on the fence about that. I'm not entirely sure because he says, like, he'll take her by, but, like, I'm like, I don't know.
I see, and
I don't
I think because Yeah, he didn't try anything before. I think now he chickened out again. Like, he had the plan,
Mm,
and he's like, "Oh, no, wait, I'm not ready," and then he made up an excuse. I think
mhm.
there was a
That's why I don't think it was a scheme. If he's that insecure, he's not in a scheming mindset. Like, he's too
I
insecure.
okay, so scheme might be a strong word. I think he saw an opportunity and took it, and he has, like, in his mind a way that he would want that night to go, to get her into bed, that would be like, "Oh, that would be great," and then he realized later, like, "Oh, crap, I'm not ready for that," and yeah, I think people can have conflicting desires and things in their
For
mind.
sure.
Yeah.
1,000% conflicting desires is a real thing. I don't think getting her into bed is anywhere
Mhm.
on his to-do list, though. Like, I
Okay.
don't think it's any priority for him whatsoever. He seems like the kinda guy who makes love, not fucks, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
sure.
so I don't think he's trying to get,
Oh.
like, that physical thing. I think that would be
Mhm.
meaningful to
Yes.
him, like,
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
just like, "Let's just do some sex."
'Cause
Mhm.
he's like a 45-year-old, 26-year-old. Yeah.
That's the
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think it's an opportunistic kinda thing
Yeah.
either. Because like,
Okay.
I think he's yeah, like, for to go from being engaged to being, like, dumped the way he was, like, he coulda had sex a million times
Mhm.
between now and then, like, if he wanted to have some sex with some person, like, he's not a bad-looking dude,
Yeah.
like, and he's not a dum-dum, like, he could've achieved that physical thing, but I think for him, it'd be too meaningful,
Yeah.
and he'd have to be like, we've both professed our love to each other before he would, like, do some deeds of
Okay.
that
I think
variety.
you've convinced me.
Yes.
I'm gonna put a
Mark it on
gif
the
of, like,
calendar. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that makes but you're not convinced that he still didn't freak out, like, he still might have freaked out after he realized what the
I
night
think
could mean
absolutely
and
he
then
coulda
lied.
freaked out.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think he coulda freaked out for sure.
Okay. So Felicity is sleeping on the couch at Kelvin in the lobby. And of course, Noel and Ruby come back from a date up through the elevator and start making out goodbye. They are not afraid to kiss goodbye at the end of a date, those two, which I thought was also very interesting, like juxtaposition of the two of them.
That's
Like
quite a comparison, yes.
they broke up at the same time, but Noel's very much like further along in his relationship with Ruby. I guess I would say emotionally too. I was gonna say maybe not, just physically, but no, I think probably emotionally too. So I thought that was interesting that they show them making out so many times in this episode when
It's
Felicity can't
true.
get a kiss. So, yeah, that was I don't
We
know if I
see it
have a
and
point.
hear it.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot.
Those kissing sounds are outrageous, like, I've got the misophonia, and I'm like, "I wanna die." Like, "I wanna die, I can't do this anymore." It was a rough episode for me.
Well, I think Felicity agreed because she tries to shrink as small as possible, like, under the covers and the couch. But then there's a second where she kind like the a flip like a switch gets
Mhm.
flipped and she kinda starts peeping at a
Yeah.
little
Mhm.
bit, which is
Mhm,
weird.
mhm. Like a little creepy perv,
Yeah, like, "Oh, wait, do I miss that with
voyeur.
Noel?" type of thing. But then I think she kinda, like, goes back to shrinking. They stop kissing, and Ruby spots her and asks what she's doing out there. She tells them, that David's place fell through. So, Ruby's like, "Well, can we get you anything?" But Felicity says she's fine. So Ruby goes to her room, and Noel asks again, like, if she needs anything, but Felicity says, honestly, she's fine. So he goes to leave in the elevator, but then returns and sits down and asks Felicity if Ruby knows about their history. Felicity says that she didn't tell her. So, if he didn't, then no, she doesn't know. But like, why doesn't Noel just tell her? He says it's just that it's very early for them. It's a seminal moment because
Mm.
everything's a seminal moment. And Felicity says, like, well, she did come to me and tell me what a good kisser you are. Like, this is a weird situation I'm in. Noel, of course, is flattered, but he says, don't say anything. I will. He says that the ex boyfriend's, ex girlfriend's conversation hasn't come up yet. So he didn't want to bring it up. But Felicity asks why. He says, I don't know. Says, okay, this is stupid. Please come stay at our place. But Felicity swears that she's comfy just where she is. So then Noel does eventually leave.
So much weird stuff going on.
And
I'm curious. Yeah, go ahead.
what are you curious about?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the ex's conversation is different than this. Like, this is kind of a separate
Yes.
situation
Yes.
because she's the RA. She's already involved in how they met. Like, the
Right.
"How many people have you dated?" conversation is
That's not
separate
this.
from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't think that was a good excuse.
Very awkward.
Yeah.
Every day that goes by that they don't tell her
Yes.
is just making it worse and worse.
Yeah. I mean, we've already talked about when they should have
Mhm. Yeah.
already
Oh, yeah.
said something,
Right.
but now yeah, and so now doing the don't tell her, it reminded me of give me an O. I was about to say finally, but give me an O when Noel didn't want Julie to tell Felicity about the Vermont trip and all of that with Ben. So,
Mm,
yeah.
He's not known for his
nope.
transparency.
No, and yeah, I think because of his weird self-esteem issues, he's, like, worried about any little thing screwing something up for, like, his relationship, but it's like
Which is the thing that screws the
which
relationships
yeah,
and
which ends up making everything worse. So,
yep, yep, yep. What
oh
a
dear.
dope. Um, I'm curious, do you think that he just doesn't want things to go wrong with Ruby and that's why he's not telling her? Or do you think he is hoping that Felicity won't be his ex and will be his actual girlfriend again soon? Like, what do you think is keeping him from divulging
I
reasons to
think
go
he
out?
doesn't wanna screw things up with Ruby.
Yeah.
Defend.
I mean, we'll get there later because he even says, like, "As much as I still think about you," and this and that, like, he wanted it to work with Ruby. Like, I do think he has genuine feelings for Ruby and knows that it's a tricky situation, and I think, yeah, he's just so scared of, like, anything ruining a relationship that you forget, like, that's how relationships are tested. Like, you have to be able to communicate and talk about things, and, like, if you're not able to get over it, then maybe it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't the right relationship, right? But I think so many people too, which I think is why this episode is so interesting. Like so many people are like, "Oh, well, I can't voice this opinion or I can't tell them this cuz what if they freak out and then they don't want to be with me?" It's like, "Well, if they're going to freak out, then they're not the right one." So I think it's
Word.
really interesting that he's so scared all the time to like ruin whatever he's got
Yeah,
going on.
I like it.
Like you said,
I'll go with it.
insecurity.
Yeah, that all tracks. My other thing that I'd like to bitch about for a moment is why did Noel have to invite her over and not Elena? Like, why didn't this already get propositioned by Elena? Like, why didn't she already be like, girl, don't sleep on a nasty, musty couch. Like, please come just stay over on our
Maybe she didn't
clean
tell
couch.
Elena yet. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, maybe she just didn't.
Why? What's that friendship about then? Like, why wouldn't she disclose that to her best friend,
I
her
don't
quote
know.
unquote best friend? This girl does not communicate for shit either.
It's
Mm.
for the drama
Yeah.
of
Well, that
catching
Yeah.
them
people
just
making
yeah,
out
yeah,
and the
yeah, there's
sex
that.
noises that she was hearing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've got commentary on that later too.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
This is the scene where it happens, though. You got it later? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait. So then the next day at Dean and DeLuca, Elena's sitting with Felicity, probably on her break, tells Felicity she looks like she got hit in the face twice. Says maybe she's got mono. But Felicity says that she just has exhaustion. Clearly, she didn't sleep all night because of those sex noises happening. And maybe worrying a little bit about Noel and Ruby. I don't know. So then Javier brings them coffee and also tells Felicity that she looks like the bottom of the cappuccino machine when they clean it out at night, which is
Brilliant.
super gross. Like that makes me want to go off of like Starbucks and and all coffee shop coffee.
Oh, no, that was genius. That was amazing writing right there. I loved it. Amazing writing, amazing delivery.
Mhm. So Elena asks Felicity what happened with David. So yeah, clearly she didn't tell Elena until now. But she tells him about the fumigation excuse, and Elena asks Felicity if she buys it because Elena says it sounds like BS 101. And Javier says, BS, boy shenanigans, is that what it is? And it just amazing. Boy shenanigans.
That's also brilliant. That's my favorite thing I've ever heard, ever. Perfect translation.
Yep. And then, of course, just then, David drops by. Felicity introduces him to Elena and then to Javier, who's very, very standoffish and says, hello, you. And I just got to say, this is truly Javier's episode. Maybe just tied with Megan in her like fever dream state that she's in all episode. But like Javier was really great. Like all his one liners were amazing in this episode.
Perfect.
And he then excuses himself because he has to dust the scone. Elena also excuses herself to give Felicity and David some room to talk, but they hang back behind David so they can kind of listen in and decipher what's going on. So even though David like brought in some prints for her opinion on his photos, I'm like, enough with the prints. Like, let's get things moving. No more photos,
Damn.
dude. I mean, come on. It's been so many dates now.
Aw.
So he decides that he wants to blow off class tonight and take Felicity to dinner, even though it's midterms. And Felicity, like queen of communication, I just love her. Like she is a role model for me. She just asks point blank, "Is your apartment really being fumigated?" Like she doesn't sit around and think about it and like,
I like that.
play like coy and oh, well, your bugs, blah blah blah. Like she just comes out and asks it, and I love it. But he jokes around and says, "Oh, so you don't believe me? Well, I'll take you to dinner, and afterward, I'll take you to the building and show you because she wants proof." So they joke, and he makes it light, but he doesn't truly answer the question. He's just like, "Oh, you don't believe me?" So I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. So that's why I still don't know because
I
I
know.
don't
Mm.
see a scene on film, like,
On
where
film.
it's the fumigation. Like, I don't have evidence,
Yeah.
but it seems more likely that it was the truth because he said he did offer to take her, but I feel like a lot of times in movies are like, "Oh, well, look it up. It's right there," and then people are like, "No,
Yeah.
no, I believe
Those
you,"
little
and, like,
Exactly.
don't call the
He
bluff.
It's the
risked it.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so and because Felicity, she might be the kind of person who might ask, but I don't know if she's the person who'd be like, "Yeah, show me right now." Elena would,
I
but
was
I don't
just
think
gonna say,
Felicity
that's
would.
Elena.
Like, "Let's go right now, like, it's like
Mhm.
dinner, let's go right now, just show me the
We'll go
receipts."
there first, then we'll grab dinner. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. The other thing here is wild. Why the hell is he going to blow off class to take her out to dinner? It's They've been going on and on about how it's midterms. He's the fucking TA. He's not blowing off a class that he's attending. He's blowing off the class he's teaching. That's tacky. I I don't like that.
He's calling in sick. It fits the theme.
All right, all
I
right.
don't
But
know.
I'm like, it's midterms. Like now's not the time to fuck around with people's lives just because you want to go to dinner with your girl who you don't even hold hands with
That's the
anymore. Like,
and that's what gets me. I'm like, "You wanna blow off a like, again, big grand gesture. I'm like, "But you've taken her to dinner a bajillion times already. Like, you're not do we know you're just friends at this point, and you're gonna blow off a class?" I don't know. It's
I don't
sus.
know either. It's weird. But I didn't like it. I'm like, dude, like, be responsible. Like, you're a grad student. Like, stop being a clown. Like, just do your job. You can have dinner afterwards. Or I don't know, any other day of the goddamn week. What the hell?
Mhm.
That annoyed me.
So then back at Knowles, running lines with Ruby for her audition. And Ruby, after they're done with their lines, she's like, "Oh gosh, I can't do this. This is so embarrassing." But Noel says, "Look, I know I was skeptical at first, but this could pay for both like undergrad and grad school." And I'm thinking, that's a big
Mm.
check for a no name person for one movie.
Yes. What
How
in
did
the
she get that?
world?
How'd she score that?
Or is he just saying things because his broke ass had to get, like, sponsorships and what's that thing called?
Scholarships.
Scholarships. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like sometimes people who don't have money think, like, some amount of money is, like, a massive, massive, massive amount of money when it's really not. Like, if you're not having that background.
Or maybe UNY was really cheap. I don't know. In
It must not
1999.
have been if he had to
Doubtful.
go get scholarships
That's
and
true,
try
but
to get
if he
sponsored.
had nothing, I don't know. Yeah, but that's gotta be a really big check for her, so that's awesome. But Noel asks who's playing the male lead, but Ruby says that she signed an NDA, so she can't say, but she does tell him that if she gets the part, then she will tell him who the male lead is. Then Felicity's back in her room, packing up her backpack, trying not to catch mono from Megan, and Ruby stops by. Again, Megan. She's like, "Hey, take a load off. Have some pie." Like she's in a fevery, like hallucinatory state. And Ruby asks Felicity for some advice. She says she needs to get a diaphragm. She's like, "Health services is the way to go, right?" Well, Felicity's like, sure, yeah, like, doesn't protect against STDs. Ruby says, "Yeah, I was on the pill for a while, but made me so bloated." She says, "Not that you care what Noel and I do, right?" Felicity's like, "Oh, as long as you're safe." Smiley face. But Felicity says that she's off to go stay at Noel and Elena's for a while. Megan again chimes in, "Until I die." Ruby's like, "Wow, you and Noel are really good friends, huh? Why did you two never go out?" But I guess maybe lucky for Felicity, Megan sneezes right on Felicity's face in that moment, saving her from having to answer the question as both her and Ruby scurry out of that room real quick.
That was weird.
Mhm.
And I don't even know how Felicity would have answered because, like, she wouldn't want to piss Noel off, but, like, you can't
Yeah.
lie to Ruby at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, she'd
Ruby
have
would
to.
have had to
You're
have
like,
And
said.
she could have answered it in the hallway.
Yep.
Like, she didn't have to not answer just because she got her face sneezed on.
Yeah. She could have said, like,
Like, "Oh, we did. It's over now."
yeah, or she could have said, like, "Well, I wanted to talk to you about this, but," and then said, like, "Maybe you should speak to Noel first because he wanted to be the one to tell you," and then just, like, leave it at that.
I think that'd be a hard door to
Mm,
open and just, like,
well,
leave open and be like, "What do you
yeah.
mean? Talk to me
Eh,
about that." But, yeah, I think she definitely could've been like, it's ancient history."
mhm.
But it's really interesting and weird that he's like, "Wow, you and Noel are really good friends, huh?" And I know that they just said it so she could set up the line, "How come you never dated?" But why didn't she say like, "Oh, you must be really good friends with Elena too?" Like, why did Elena get cut out of the equation? Because it's Elena and Noel's apartment, not just Noel's. So, like, it's just a little nitpick
Yeah,
there.
she's not
It's
sleeping in Noel's bed.
these aren't natural questions. Like, Ruby's behavior was not natural. Like, she would have been like, "Why are we whispering?" She would have said something about Elena. Like, there's just little things that I just like, you're only writing it this way for the plot, and it's not a natural character driven kind of conversation. So,
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, yeah, Elena could have invited her over and Noel had nothing to do with it, you know? It's just
Exactly, why
yeah.
would she assume that it was Noel? Especially in light of the fact a few episodes ago, she acted so awkward about the whole computer thing and was, like, being weird about it. Like, why would now, a couple minutes later, Ruby be like, "Oh, you guys are really good friends, huh?" Like, why wouldn't you think you were really good friends with Elena, who's, like, clearly, like, you were both pre-med together? Like, if she had
Mhm.
any background knowledge of any of them, like, why wouldn't she jump to, "You're really good friends with Noel," instead of Elena? Or both of them at the very least. Stupid.
And
Disappointing.
it's kind of weird too that, like, would you ask every single male and female friend, like, why they never dated? Like, what unless like, that's the thing, like, maybe she was already wondering that, and that just kinda, like, opened up an
Or
opportunity
she
for her to
just thinks
ask
he's
it.
so great. Like, how could you not have dated him? He's amazing.
Exactly, like, "Why didn't you date Noel? He's amazing, he's a great kisser, he's a geek, but with a hot body," like she said the other week, like, that never happened, so, yeah, maybe she's like, "Why wouldn't you wanna date him? What's wrong with him?" I don't know, but it's just like, I don't know, why didn't she ask, "Why did Elena and Noel never date?" Like, it just
There it
do you
is,
ask
yeah.
that question of every single male and female friend? Like, you can also just be friends, so, I don't know.
Oh, and even the little line, "Not that you care what Noel and I do." Like, why would you say that? That had nothing to do with anything. Like, that's a stupid thing to say in that context. Like, it didn't make any sense other than for creating tension for that episode. That's not what a normal person would say. They'd be like, "Not that you care that I get bloated when I'm on birth control." Like, that's or like, "Not that you care, that's TMI." Like, they wouldn't be like, "Not that you care what Noel and I do together." Like, nobody would say
Mhm.
that randomly. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Writing was shit this episode, except for that whole mono love bug thing.
I do think it's funny and light, I don't know, we can get to there at the end.
Fine, fine.
So then at Elena's, Felicity is trying on different outfits for her dinner with David. And again, we're seeing definitely some more form fitting clothes this season. I mean, it's October now, end of October, early November. I think the episode aired November 7th, and she's walking out in little teeny tiny tank tops. So no more sweaters, unfortunately. But Felicity asks Elena if she's too dressy. But asks, well, what are you going for on a scale of 1 to 10? Felicity says that she's supposed to be studying, so a 3. Elena says, well, that's a 6. So Felicity goes to change. Elena says that, new guy's probably going to kiss her tonight. She's got a good feeling about it. Felicity comes out with another top, and Elena says that that's a 4. And I was like, oh, yes, I often wear teeny tiny 2 tops while I'm studying in
Yes,
November.
strapless
Like,
top
yeah,
that's
that's a
bright ass
4.
in red. Like, that's an 11. What
I
where
know.
are
I'm like,
where's
what
the red?
scale is this?
I mean, maybe for Elena, like, Elena does wear more form-fitting stuff and is more confident in her skin and her body, but, like, that was the opposite.
But
Like,
it's
I
not
will give
just
you
the
the
form fitting, but it's like literally a cute going out top. Like,
Mhm.
if we're talking about the early 2000s, like,
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
going out top.
yes.
That's not a studying. Like, a
No,
4?
no,
No.
No.
Elena's out of her mind. She could have called that a 6 and I would have been fine with that, but, like,
Yes.
a 4, like, she went backwards but that top was hotter than the first one.
Yes. Yes. The other
Like,
one, if you put a sweater on, that would have, like, toned it down a little bit, not the
yes.
red tube
Mhm.
top.
No. No, not even a little bit. That's, like, siren red.
Yes. So then Noel comes back to the apartment and Elena says, "You're in trouble." Noel's like, "What did I do?" Felicity yells from the other room that he still hasn't told Ruby about them and it's getting uncomfortable for her. So Noel says that he will tell her tonight. So Felicity comes out in her little tube top and Noel asks, like, "Where are you all dressed up?" That was so funny. Elena's like, "Don't listen to him." But I'm like, maybe listen to him
Mhm.
because you are dressed up.
Or split the difference.
Yeah.
Like
Then he asks Felicity what's going on with her and David, but she says that it's just like the beginning stages. That was it. So then he's like, well, you're not going to ask me about me and Ruby? Felicity says, I know about you and Ruby. So Elena tells Noel that Ruby asked Felicity where to get a diaphragm. And again, I'm like, we were whispering before, and now like we're talking about diaphragms in front of each other. And I'm like, Elena, like you don't need to tell him. And even Felicity was like, Elena, she's like, he'll find out eventually. I'm like, yeah, but
Why didn't she bust her out?
like from Ruby, he'll find out. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, Elena could have been louder in the beginning of the episode when I was saying, like, "Why are they whispering?"
Yeah.
Like, why didn't Elena bust it out loud? Like, "What? We're just talking about getting laid."
Yeah, like she's allowed to want to get kissed. Like, yeah. So didn't match.
It's funny that now she's so, like, "Oh, hey,
Yep.
let me bust everybody out, bust out all their shit."
So yeah, Noel's excited, of course, but Felicity says, like, you can see why this is so uncomfortable for me now. So yeah, he says, all right, I'll tell her tonight. So Ruby knocks on the door, comes in, tells them all that her audition got moved up and it's now the very next morning. And then David shows up to pick up Felicity for their dinner. So they're all obviously going out for a bite. No one really has a solidified plan though. So Ruby tells Felicity, hey, you guys should just come with me and Noel for dinner. And Noel and Felicity are just like, I mean, we could, like, it's up to you. I don't know. Like, what do you want to do? But Elena woke up and chose chaos. And she tells them, like,
Right.
just get out of here, go downstairs, like, so leave me alone so I can study for my midterms. So they all decide, all right, let's go double date at this, dinner. And Felicity and Noel give each other a look of dread as they head down to Epstein Bar. And now I'm gonna forever look at this episode differently and Epstein Barr differently. And I would also, though, just like to say, because she's so funny and studying for midterms, because her writing, like the writing for her didn't really match up this episode, I would also just like, she's very underutilized this season so far. Like, she's just Felicity and Noel's sidekick. Like, she needs her own storyline ASAP that
Mhm.
isn't McGrath. Like, that was her thing at the end of last year, but, like, we learned more about her dad. There was Blair. She had her own romantic interest then, yes, McGrath, but, like, so far, it's just been her, like, you know, quick one-liners between Felicity and Noel. Like, we need her own storylines,
Mhm.
her own arcs.
Totally.
Agreed. But also her storyline with McGrath just, like, fizzled into nothing. It was like, we didn't
Yeah.
really even get to see the aftermath of it or anything, yeah, so that was kinda
Yeah,
disappointing too.
Yeah,
bogus.
it was just like, "Oh, he called me and said it was over." I'm like, "Okay."
Yes.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
now she has no story. I guess the video games thing last week, but that was stupid. So,
Mhm. And
well,
that wasn't, like, just her either, it was her
right.
and
It
Noel, like,
was with
yeah, so
Noel.
it's not even her own thing.
Yep.
Here's a little fun fact. I watched this episode 5 times, right? Like, over and over again,
Huh?
like, obsessively, like a, like, serial killer kind of obsessive. And I noticed the top she lands on is the same shirt she had on in the previous episode when they were all at the candlelit table and, like, studying, and Elena was there, like, trying to get them to talk about stuff. She's wearing the same shirt.
Mm.
Felicity is wearing the same shirt as she was then when they had all that sexual tension.
Oh.
Oh, indeed.
Well, and the tube top will make a comeback too
Mhm.
eventually.
Eventually.
Now she covered up a little bit, but it's still very tight.
Yeah, form-fitting.
Yes. I'm not knocking it. She looks amazing.
Mhm.
So then at Maggie's kitchen again, Ben is back after hours when employees have gone home. Maggie says she wasn't going to call him, knowing how this is going to end. Ben keeps saying, like, well, how do you know it's going to end? Why does it have to end? Blah, blah, blah. But she says she wanted to give him a proper goodbye. She wanted to be with him one last time. Look.
Sheesh.
So yeah, Ben keeps saying, well, maybe you're wrong about how this ends. But Maggie says no, like, she knows. So, Dr. Joe, to your point, she's controlling the situation. I mean, but also, like, does he really believe her? She said this is a one time thing how many times now?
Right.
And it never is. So, whatever.
She goes back and forth with everything else, so
Yeah.
why should
Yeah.
he?
He's probably like, "I'll be back here tomorrow eating tarts off of
Yeah.
this
You
lady."
call me tomorrow.
Yeah. Whatever you say, lady.
Yeah. But she's claiming that this is the last time as she unbuttons her shirt. And, I just noticed that women are just like always taking their clothes off in front
Mm.
of Ben. Nicole, Maggie. That's always. But yeah, so then they get hot and heavy. He asks if they should go somewhere. Maggie's like, "No, here." So again, really keeping it professional. She does the whole,
So
swipe the stuff off the counter move. And Ben's just like, "Well, guess we're doing this."
all right. Don't mind if I
Yeah.
do.
Like, well, we gotta do what we gotta do. Then we go back to the other date at Epstein. It seems to be going well. They're all laughing, trying to get to know who the lead is opposite Ruby. And Ruby decides that they need more drinks, so she gets up to get more, and David goes with her. So it's just Felicity and Noel left together. Felicity tells Noel that Ruby's nice. He says the same about David. So, okay, progress. Everyone's getting along. Then Noel says that she has an eyelash on her cheek, and he goes to grab it. He says, "Before you make a wish, make sure you have a really good one." Felicity asks Noel what he would wish for, but he says he can't tell her or it won't come true. Felicity says, "Yeah, but you're not the one wishing." He says, "Yeah, I am. I'm always wishing, even in non eyelash moments." And that's, of course,
Boy.
had to be my angsty away message of the week with those hazel eyes, that
Oh,
really zoomed in
Mm.
shot. Oh, don't give me that face.
me?
Yeah, you.
That would have been cool if everything else wasn't going on around them. Like, if this was
Mhm.
the first season, then fine.
I know, but he is so cute.
It would've been cute if this was with Ruby and we got to, like, actually see them like
That
that.
too? Jesus Christ, oh my god.
But he's so cute. I just liked
Yeah,
it.
he can be cute with somebody he's actually
Yeah.
dating, how about?
Okay. Old
Okay.
habits die hard.
I'll let you have that one.
Okay. So she will, and he might be just wishing for good things for Ruby. I don't know.
Alright, alright, alright.
So she blows the eyelash off his finger. Noel says, "Oh, couldn't have come true. I'm still here." So yeah, that was very cute, unfortunately. But yeah, Ruby looks back over at the table, and so does David then. And Felicity and Noel are just a little too close and cozy for their liking.
Are you serious? Can you imagine what Noel would have done if
I know.
he came up to the table and David was taking an eyelash off of Ruby's
I've
face? Can you
I've
imagine how bad he would have freaked
compartmentalized it
out?
from, the actual context of what's going on, and I just, he
I
is
see
cute
that. I can see that.
saying that and
That's
doing
that's
that. That's
fine.
it.
That's fine.
Mhm.
It was a moment,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, they're in this little bubble. That's the problem. They're
Yeah.
compartmentalizing it too, because there is no fucking way that Noel would have been at the bar grabbing a drink and then looked over and saw David with his finger and eyelash on Ruby's face and been like, not thrown that pitcher of beer in that guy's face and like cracked him upside the head with it. There's no way he would have been okay. It was like
No, he
they're
would've beat
completely out
him
of
up
their
with his
goddamn mind.
computer.
Yes, the probably the big ass one, yeah. Not a laptop, like a full monitor. He would've, oh my gosh, he would've lost his mind so hard. So they're clearly in some little Twilight Zone, like little bubble something. And this would have been even more impactful in the original airing. The original song is called Born for Me by Paul Westerberg. And one of the lines that plays kind of at the peak of it, like if you press the little preview song thing, "You were born for me, beautiful and blue. I could die here with you. For a couple of nights, you could say you're my wife. You could stay or run away if you please." So that's just like, so like, I just got chills just even saying that to myself, and I don't even like what's going on.
I just got chills.
Can you imagine that? Like seeing that? Oh my god, it happened again. Oh my god, oh my god. So, but can you imagine seeing that the original airing and for a couple nights you could say you're my wife while they're doing this little eyelash wish thing? Unbelievable.
So I actually went down a rabbit hole myself on the
Mhm.
song because I
Yeah.
actually liked whatever the song was in the streaming
Yeah,
version. It was pretty. I was like, "What is this?" And I wonder if it
right?
was in the original. It turns out it was not. It's from
Mhm.
2001, the album. So I was like, "Okay, well that's clearly after the air date." The song was called "No Justice" by Wes Cunningham. And if you listen to the lyrics, they really don't fit at all, but it was a very pretty song. So
Yeah,
but
it sounded
yeah,
nice, yeah.
it just sounded very beautiful, and I
Mhm.
liked, the
It was a
moment.
nice moment. The
Yeah, the
atmosphere was
moment was
good.
beautiful, but then, yeah, listening to the lyrics later, I was like, "Oh, this is, about justice and being good and bad in the world," and I'm like, "This doesn't have anything to do with this scene." So
Yeah.
I'll have to, and I couldn't find, tunefind.com didn't have the scenes associated to each song, it just had a list, so I don't know where you found that, but
Send you the link.
okay. 'Cause then, yeah, I wanna listen
'Cause,
to
yeah,
that song.
there's a couple different
Okay.
sites, and, yeah, the one of them led me wrong, and I was like, "I need to see scene descriptions, like, this is useless information without the scene descriptions, you maniacs. Who's running these sites?" Whatever. Yeah. I love the look that Ruby and David shoot them, though, like, they can see something's up because it's so obvious. And I'll give them credit, the actors, Kerry Russell and Scott Foley, because as you've mentioned twice now at least, that, Scott Speedman would have chemistry with a mop. These 2 have really good
Mhm.
chemistry with each other, like, they really do, and so it's, like, screeching off of them, so, of course, when Ruby and David look over, they're like, "The fuck is going on over here?" Yeah, those slow-mo moments, though, like, that it was such an intimate moment, between Felicity and Noel. I was like, "Wow, you guys are really laying it on thick here, like, you're, like, really collaborating us with this
Mm.
shit. Good for you."
Good for you.
Well done. Well done. I tip my hat to you.
Uh, so after their little rendezvous, Maggie is locking up her kitchen slash office. Ben's leaving with her and asks if she wants to get coffee later. But Maggie says, really, I was not kidding. Like, we're done. This is it.
For
Sure,
real,
sure.
dog.
For real.
For
Yeah.
sure.
For real, for
Uh-huh.
real.
But Ben says, like, come on, you like me. And she says, I like sleeping with you, which
Ouch.
I thought was low.
That's
What a
cold-hearted.
bitch.
Like, why
That
do
was
you
so
like
bitchy.
her, Ben? I just don't get it. Like,
Mhm.
unless he likes the hot and cold thing, but I'm like, damn, that was cold.
You know, he might like that hot and cold thing, though,
Okay.
because I think because of that trauma stuff. Again, I didn't say trauma once yet. Everybody take a shot. This is your one and only chance. 'Cause of his dad, like, 'cause that cycle of
Mm.
abuse stuff, abuse, like that, toxic explosion and then the apology, like, so that's a very hot and cold kinda system too, where it's like, it's good and then it's awful and it's good and it's awful, and it's like that push-pull, that confusion thing. He's probably used to that 'cause of his dad, and even witnessing that between his parents,
Mm.
not even just his relationship with his dad, but witnessing that between his mom and dad, that probably seems pretty normal to him, this back and forth push and pull tension, like, "I love you, I hate you," all that yuck.
Yeah.
That's probably why it is very familiar to him
Hmm.
and comfortable enough.
Yeah. So he still just doesn't really believe her. He's like, why does it have to be done? But she's like, look, we'll see each other in the streets, a few years from now. We'll smile, say our niceties and be on our way. Like, she's like, this was fun. Take care. Bye. Again, cold.
So cold.
And then we go back to Epstein, where Ruby's on the payphone chatting with her roommate. Noel's teasing her to get her off the phone. So after giving her roommate her ice cream order of fish food, which is a Ben and Jerry's flavor, her and Noel start making out again loudly. And we go back to Felicity and David, who are back at the table talking again about his photos all the time. They're just talking about his pictures. And she says, oh, the one with the little girl was so amazing. David says that it reminded him of her, that she had this purity and grace about her, and she's extraordinary. And Felicity says, she's like, oh my God, I'm blushing. I don't even know why. I'm going to pause there.
You don't deserve it. Just kidding.
And I'm going to pause there. I like that he called her extraordinary, but the purity piece, I don't know if I liked
Yeah.
that. I thought that was weird. Like, does he see her as like, it's always Virgin Mary or a prostitute? I forget what the tropes are called, but it's like you're either the Virgin Mary or you're the slut. And so it's
Mhm.
like, does he not want to kiss her and all that because he's like putting her on this like Virgin Mary pedestal, even though she's not a virgin? Like he doesn't know that probably. But I thought that was a little weird. Like, why did the writers put in purity and grace? Like that was just interesting. Like comparing her to a little girl. I don't know. I didn't like that.
Creepy.
'Cause they know she was skeezing behind his back with Noel right in front of his face. Behind his back in front of his face. So just I hope yeah, she should be blushing because she doesn't deserve it, that's why.
I think she was blushing because it was a
Yeah.
compliment.
Yeah.
And
Well, she just had that big moment though with Noel, so I'm like, "Boy, you are grasping at straws here. You're trying so hard to make this work even though you're so scared to make it work." Like, "Oh boy."
mm,
And maybe at the time he took the photo, he felt like that because she's not, like she does seem we've talked about her being, like, kinda naive, kinda sheltered, kinda this and that. So, like, I could see purity, not in the sense of, like, she's, like, virginal and untouched, but just, like, she's a pretty good person,
Mm.
She seems pretty she's very friendly, she's got a big heart, and that could show through without knowing her very long, so but purity, yeah, I was like, "Just wait, just wait. It's about to blow up in your face, sir." So, I think maybe they even said it just to have a bigger contrast when it
mm.
blows up in
Mm.
their faces. And maybe he wants that to be true.
So then, we go back to Ruby and Noel. They need to get a room. They're like really making out hard in the back of this bar next to a pinball machine. Ruby says his name, and then Noel says Felicity. Oh, Felicity.
Eh,
Ruby's like, "What? Excuse me, Felicity? Like, what is
wait,
going on with you
what?
2?"
Like,
Yeah.
what
What?
in all caps?
Yeah. He wasn't even drunk, was he? Like, what in the world?
Well,
I don't think so.
again, old habits, that was well, no, that wasn't even the last person he made out with. That was that Beth girl. But old habits. Noel says there's nothing going on. Like, we broke up last year. It's complicated. But Ruby asks, like, how did it end? She broke up with you, right? Noel says, well, but it's over. Like, it was just a slip. And I do think it was a little innocent, because he was like, we've been spending a lot of time together. I don't think he was like picturing her instead of Ruby, but you all may disagree. I think it was just an innocent slip. So Ruby's like, "Well, yeah, if it's over, why didn't you tell me?" And he says, "I was going to." She's like, "Well, why didn't Felicity tell me?" He says, "'Cause I told her not to." Then Ruby's like, "Oh my god, what? You had conversations together about not telling me?" And she's like, "Ugh, I went to Felicity to like talk to her, tell her things. I told her that, you were a good kisser. I bragged about you. I asked her for birth control advice." And Noel, oh, in his stupidity, says, "I know." Just like,
Don't
"No,
say
that's not
anything.
reassuring."
Shh.
So
Not
mortifying.
not reassuring to her. She's like, "She knows. Oh god, you know what?"
Mhm.
So Ruby runs away to the table to get her coat and storm away. She tells Felicity, like, "I wish you would have told me about you and Noel. Like, you put me in a really embarrassing situation, not telling me the truth." David's like, "What's going on? What is she talking about?"
Oh
Ruby
boy.
runs away and leaves to go to Noel's. She left a bunch of stuff there. He runs after her to go with her. So Felicity tells David, "Yeah, I probably should have told you too. Like, Noel and I used to go out, but it's over." And David says, like, "Oh, yeah, maybe, but sometimes, it's really hard to judge those things so soon after the breakup." David says that his big concern this whole time is if he's ready to trust someone again. He's like, "Look, it's not you. Like, this is about me." He's like, "She just isn't ready yet." He's like, he's sorry. And he leaves. So then Noel comes back to the table because Ruby didn't want him to go with her, sits down, and Felicity asks, like, what the hell just happened? And Noel tells her about, the saying her name piece. But Noel says as much as he and Felicity have been through, as much as he feels for her, as much as he thinks about her, he wanted it to work with Ruby. And Felicity says same thing for her with David. But there's a lot
Mm.
in this scene, just like I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of these scenes where there's just so much to unpack. I think the first thing is Noel saying Felicity. I thought about the Felicity Summer book,
That's what
like,
I was
I
just
did too, yeah.
thinking. Yes.
Felicity
Yeah.
says Ben to Noel, and I'm like, "Oh, did they just decide, like, well, we didn't use that yet,
I
so
think they just like that
they
plot device.
recycled it?" Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think they just like that plot device for
Mhm.
conflict. I think that's just an
Couldn't
easy,
think of something
low-hanging
else.
fruit kind of plot device.
Yeah.
Also, I just think it's really weird that, like, they think people say the other person's name when making out. Like, is that a thing?
I
Like,
was
I
gonna
don't
ask you
do
that too.
that.
I
I've
don't
never done
I've
that.
never done that in my life, and I never want to. Like, I'm gonna go out of
Like,
my way to never ever fucking do
so
that.
and so. No, you don't say their name.
And, like, in a public place, they're at a bar, like, a pub, more of a restaurant, right? Says Felicity, so
So
I've never
strange.
experienced that in real life. Like, I would never I would slap the shit
Yeah.
out of
Like,
somebody's face if they
ew.
said my name while they're I'm like,
Gross.
"Why are you talking like this? Why what?
why are
This
you
is we're not
speaking?
on TV right now. Like, shut up." Like, you could be like, girl, but don't say my name. Like, that's just like, we're not on TV. They only do that shit on TV.
Yes.
Or take another viewer poll, audience poll.
Mhm.
Like, do you be saying each other's names when you be kissing? Like, who is doing this? I
Ew.
want to know who is doing
I'm
this.
gonna I'm gonna test this with my husband, like, next time we're making out, see how he reacts.
They'll be like, "Whoa, that was a bit much."
We're
Who
done.
is
Do you have
you?
a
They're
safe
like,
do you have a safe word? Like, "Whoa, pineapple."
it's so fucking weird. So yeah, they totally like pulled that little TV trope
They're like,
to
"Oh, we
make
didn't
them
actually
conflict.
use that because Felicity didn't go with Ben,
Yeah,
or didn't go with
exactly.
Noel, so let's use it now." That's where my mind went first. And then second, this scene in particular is really where the writing just doesn't make sense here. Like, they keep in the last few episodes teasing these hidden feelings or, like, feelings that haven't gone away between Felicity
Mhm.
and Noel. And it came to a head with the eyelashes and Noel saying Felicity, but their relationship development this whole time this season hasn't felt romantic. They're, like, teasing friends, teasing brother and sister, so, like, it just hasn't felt romantic to me between them, and so, like, the jealousy thing just isn't landing for me, like, anytime there's, like, a hint of jealousy, it just doesn't it's not landing for me there. And, like, yeah, maybe Noel always will have a thing for Felicity, but, like, last year feels so long ago already when they were actually
Mhm,
together,
mhm.
like, it feels like ages ago. So, I don't know, this is where it just, like, doesn't make sense that he would say her name and that they had this even though I loved the moment, like, the moment didn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Okay. You got anything else, Melissa? Besides hatching this plan to trick your husband into getting
I'm
freaked
still
out
thinking about it.
next time you kiss.
No, I said it before in the last few episodes. I hated that they were dragging this back up into
Yeah.
the surface again. I just wanted it to be over and yeah, it's done.
So, where did everybody get hurt? At Epstein Bar. What? This is
Damn.
the day that it would have gone down, I think, for David, like, cause he was like, "Oh, you're so pure and, like, extraordinary." Like, he seemed like he was really, like, captivated by her in the moment, like, he seemed like he was falling for her, like, he was and his guard was falling down, and if anything was gonna happen, I bet you would have been tonight if all this shit didn't blow up. So, the moment he, like, truly is, like, letting her
Oh, that makes
in
me kinda
and
feel bad for him. I mean, I
yeah,
felt bad,
like,
but,
he let
like,
his
I feel
guard
really bad
down and
now. Yeah.
yeah, like, this is the day, and where of all the fucking places are you gonna catch the love bug? Fucking Epstein Bar. It was brilliant.
Wow.
That was a clever little piece of writing, I thought. I loved it. I mean, I don't, obviously I feel bad for David, but I thought that was really ingenious that it was, like, this could have been it for them, like, it could have, like, really flourished this night, things didn't go sideways the way they went.
Yeah. Just the setup to get there didn't feel earned. The whole, like, double date, like, like, all of this stuff just felt like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we're setting all this stuff up to create a dramatic moment," instead of, I don't know, them finding out in a different way. I don't know. Yeah.
This feels like a red herring now because when he's like, "I really wanted it to work out." So, like, so what was all this eyelash bullshit then? Like,
Mhm.
did you really want to? Because you're not acting like it.
Yeah.
Like, your words and your actions are not aligned,
Mhm.
sir. You're not being congruent. You're not this isn't the
Well, and
integrity
he's
is not
not
checked for
pursuing
being
Felicity, so it's just like, just focus on Ruby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. That's why yeah, it's, like, so messy. So it's like, are you being for real or is the writing just really
Mhm.
bad? It's really, really hard to nail that down. I have my doubts about Noel's character because of the way he's written, but this especially is, like, so flimsy. Like, you really did want it to work out. Why don't you fucking act like it?
Mm.
Why don't you be honest with Ruby and tell her that this was the thing so this moment would have never happened to begin
Mhm.
with? If you really want it to work out, be fucking honest. Like, have words, exchange words, have a conversation, be a fucking grown up a little bit. Like, you're not in high school. Like, yeah, maybe you're still a teenager, but you're not in fucking high school anymore. Like, get it together, dude. You're fucking isn't he a junior now if they're sophomores? Like, come
Mhm.
on. Grow the fuck up.
I feel like I would have enjoyed the eyelash scene so much more if it was at the end of season 1 where, like,
Mm.
he asks her to go to Germany with him. Like, that would have been a really cool moment for that, but no.
Any other placement would have been better. That could have been so intense.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, now it just feels, like, icky. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, don't touch a person who you're not dating. Like, don't touch somebody else's fucking face.
Or before Boggle and all that even,
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
before
like,
they were even together, that would have been
yeah.
cute. Like, I'm always hoping I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always
I'm always
wishing.
open.
I'm always wishing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like, what are you saying? Like, why are you saying these words? And then you're gonna come hit her back with, "I really wanted to work out with Ruby." Are you sure about
Mhm.
that? Because nobody else here is. Like, you're the only one who thinks that that's the truth. Like, I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah.
Or maybe you did want it to work out. Oh, here's my question. Does he want it to work out so he can get over Felicity, or because he genuinely wants it to work out with Ruby just because it's Ruby? Like, it still seems like, yeah, like, I could believe that he wanted it to work out with Ruby if the motivation was so that he could fully get over Felicity. Because I'm just like, you're acting like that's not true, dude.
I mean, I think he legit likes Ruby.
Mhm.
I think he likes her too,
Yeah.
just not enough.
I think some of the writing here is flimsy because 'cause they're, like,
Yeah.
beating a dead horse, and they're not doing anything about it either. The Nolan like, they're, like, yeah, just belaboring this, like, false tension. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like real tension. So, yeah, I agree with Melissa on that point, like, let's just wrap it up.
Mhm.
You guys are
Call it a wrap.
over, she picked Ben, he got hurt, now I'll move on to other people. Well, and now that everyone is hurt and upset, it's raining out, and
Mhm.
Felicity wakes up at Elena and Noel's on the couch, but Noel's already up and sits next to her as she's waking up, and she starts coughing. They're like, "Oh, you all right?" She says, "I think I have mono." Again, like, go get a test.
Mhm.
Like, I read,
Or
"Oh,
get
I'm
the fuck out of
coughing.
your
I got
friend's
mono."
apartment.
Come on.
Like, even if you've got a cold, don't be around other people. Like,
Yeah.
I would oh my gosh, I'd lose my mind.
But like
I
you
don't even
said,
wanna
she
talk
went to
about it.
Epstein and got mono.
Yeah.
She didn't know.
Uh,
And Elena wakes up and comes out of the kitchen to get her breakfast again, like looking stunning. Just let's give us more Elena. She's so beautiful. She finds out that Felicity has mono. She puts the breakfast bowl over her
I
mouth.
love that.
She's like, Felicity, I feel for you, really. Get out.
She had to get
So,
told.
yeah,
Then she acts surprised, she's like, "What?"
yeah, like, I love you, but I got midterms. Get out. And Noel sides with Elena too. He doesn't want mono again. So I don't know if you looked in your research. Can you get mono more than once?
Mm.
That I didn't even bother
Okay.
looking at because if somebody even gives me a goddamn cold, I'm gonna, like, throw them across the room, like, I'm gonna like, a football field's length away from me, like, "Get out."
Yeah.
I haven't been sick since 2018, and
What?
that I don't even know if I can count because that I had pink eye, but it turned out to be pink eye from allergies because there's 3 different kinds of pink eye, by the way. I didn't have the doo-doo in your eye kind, it was an allergy.
Mm.
So, I
Not
s I
just
don't
doo-doo,
even
it's like a bunch of different viruses.
you know what I mean, everybody
Okay.
knows, like, if you,
Yeah.
like, put some shit
Poo
in your
eye.
eyeball, that's how you
Mhm.
got conjunctivitis, there's 3 different kinds. I had a kind that it was just allergies, so whatever. But so, perhaps I haven't been sick since 2017, I don't know.
Is this because you never leave the
Wow.
I'm not
house?
trying to fuck around. That's well, even when I was leaving the house before that, I didn't get sick for a few
Oh,
years,
wow.
so
Like, do we need to be worried about you? Like,
What's your
I'm
secret?
the last person you need to worry about. I'm all good.
But do
Oh,
you leave your house?
I'm so
Oh,
good.
man. But yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, with the bowl, like, Elena using the bowl, like, this episode just hits different
Yeah.
post-COVID. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, this is totally reasonable." I think back in the day, I was probably like, "Okay, guys, like, oh, yeah, you're gonna wear a mask, whatever," you know? Like, but now I'm just like, "Yep,
mhm.
totally legit.
Let's
I
Yep,
get
go
it.
yep,
on.
that tracks.
That checks. That tracks."
No, dude. No, I've been like this for a long time now that you bring this up even back in the day. Speaking of back in the day, one time I came home to my dorm room and I found my roommate in my bed, like in my bed, under my blankets, like in my curled up in my bed. And
Why?
oh, I asked that same question as well. I was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm sick." And I'm like, "That's like the last
What?
possible reason you should be in my bed if you're sick. That's my bed's not the place for you to be." And it's because we had our bunk beds were set up, so she couldn't, like, crawl herself up to
Oh.
the top
Mhm.
bunk, like, she just collapsed in my bottom bunk. Like, she looked like Megan when Megan
Yeah,
was laying in bed, but in my bed.
that's gross.
It was so
Jeez.
gross, so
Worst
gross.
roommate ever.
Yeah,
He could be
obviously,
on
I'm
that
very sick
Netflix
now.
show. Worst roommate ever.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that took me back.
Well, now Felicity has to quarantine again. This just I was like, "Yeah, you gotta go back to that room with Megan and not leave, and no one gets to come over either." So she heads back
Yeah.
to her room, so tells Megan, "Thanks for the mono," and Carl pops his head out of Megan's bed, and Felicity was actually frightened. She was like, "Oh, like, what are you doing in there?"
Oh my gosh, that's
He
so
said,
funny.
"We both have mono, so we had sex." Megan says, "Is that what that was?"
That was the best. That was so funny. Hold up, though.
Uh-oh.
I think these are the 2 people we heard having sex when Felicity was on the
Oh,
couch in
that
the
makes
lobby.
sense.
Isn't that cool?
Oh,
Like,
gross.
wouldn't that be cool, though? Like, isn't
Mhm.
that, like, that's a nice I was like, "Hold on," and it wasn't the first time I watched it, maybe not even the 2nd or 3rd, it could have been the 4th or 5th by the time I caught it, I'm like, "It was them, they were the ones banging."
Wow.
Smart.
If only they had said each other's names to each other, we would know
Oh,
that.
I'm sure they did. We
But I
just
think,
didn't
like,
hear
it
it.
being a little bit ambiguous makes it more, like, exciting to have this, like, little
Yeah,
theory, like, I'm pretty sure it was them, and that's yeah,
that's
funny.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
quite an Easter egg.
Yeah, right?
Then back at Noel's, Ruby knocks on the door, surprisingly, and asks to come in. So at first she does look a little pissed still, but when she sits down next to him, she does say that she likes him, which is why she got upset last night. I'm like, You got upset for a very fair reason. Like, you don't have to justify getting upset." So she says she felt embarrassed and that she felt like she was maybe being led on. But she ate a whole
Fair.
container of fish food ice cream and realized that it doesn't matter. She likes being with him, and whatever happens, happens. So Noel starts to explain, says the only reason that he said her name, but Ruby's like, no, 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 you don't need to explain. You just can't ever do it again, boy.
Mhm.
So he's like, all right, yep, understood. And so they make up, which I think was very gracious of
Yes.
Ruby.
It's
Like,
so
that was
Right.
mature, I loved
very,
it.
yeah, I was like, you're a freshman?
Mhm.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Why is the freshman leading the leading example of
Yeah, she
maturity?
was very open, very honest. It was awesome. I love Ruby.
She ate her ice cream. Yeah, Ruby's great.
Yeah, that was very cool. But I will notice, like, it feels like there is a shift here, though, where it feels even more casual than it did before. Because she's like, whatever happens, happens. Like, so
Mm.
I don't know if she like kind of pulled back to protect her heart, or if she really has been that easy breezy, carefree girl this whole time. But it seemed like to me, it seemed like it was a little bit of a shift because she seemed like so crazy about him, like just like a lovesick schoolgirl type of thing. And now she's like, whatever happens, happens. Like don't be fucking up, but whatever. So I wonder if she kind of had to guard herself a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Or just to, like, get to the next part that they were gonna get to. Like,
Mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens. Now let's
There you go.
go get in the sack.
Let's get to getting.
Yeah. And then after that, whatever happens, happens. I don't know. Then out in the rain, Ben's outside drinking his coffee, and he's very sad. So he goes back to Maggie's kitchen. And at this point, this is where I was like, all right, this really should have been another red flag for him. Like, he doesn't know where she lives. He's never seen any other place but her work. Like, that should have been a sign, like, oh, something else is going on here. Because he has no idea where she lives. He only has this workplace. So he tells Maggie that he had a thought, like, let's go to Vermont for the weekend. Like, oh, this is the same Vermont place that he took Julie. Is this his move?
That's what I
What
was
in the
Is
thinking.
this
world?
his move?
Yeah.
His go-to move, yeah. That's what yeah, because he's like, "Yeah, I know a place in
I
the
know a
UK."
great
Mhm.
place.
"Yeah, you do."
But Maggie's like, oh, that's so cute. I was like, no, 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 no. Cute? No, that's patronizing, which agreed.
Mhm.
He's like, are there any conditions where you would say yes? And she says yes. So I'm like, again, confusing, like confusing city,
That's not
population
telling the
one.
whole story, lady.
Like, well, okay. And so then he's like, great, how do we create those conditions where you'll say yes?
Excellent follow-up question,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then the phone rings and the employee comes in and interrupts and says, Maggie, your husband's on line one. There it is.
Mm.
Bomb dropped. Ben is shocked. She just kind of looks at him and walks away to go answer the phone. And so
Cold.
then Ben
It's cold.
leaves and walks around in the rain some more.
Ugh, so
Mm.
pitiful.
Right?
That was
I
awful.
hate her. Sorry,
What a
I really
hoe.
hate her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big
the
trash.
worst.
Here's some fun facts, though.
Mm.
Besides, good catch, both of you. You noticed about the Vermont thing. But bringing this back to the fish food, the Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Ben and Jerry's and fish are both from Vermont, and
Yes.
that's their collaboration thing.
Oh.
And then they mentioned Vermont in the show, like going to Vermont, not just as a callback to that, but I think maybe it was a callback to fish and Ben and Jerry's.
Mm.
Well done, writers, not me.
Well done, self.
Oh, well, no, well, in case you thought I was saying well done for catching
No.
that, like, well done, writers, for having these cute
It's a
little Easter eggs.
Vermonty episode.
Yeah.
Dang, Vermont sounds sexy. I'm gonna go there.
I know. I was like, is this like the thing that New Yorkers do?
Mhm.
Like, I thought it was like they always go
Oh.
upstate, but they go to Vermont all the time. I don't know.
I feel like that's
Oh,
still
no.
far.
Then we go back to Noel's apartment. Him and Ruby are finally getting busy. And as Noel goes to grab a condom, Ruby decides to tell him that she's got great news. She got the part. So she's going to be in this movie and she's leaving soon. She's going to be gone for 3 weeks. So Noel finally says, all right, who's the lead? Who are you starring across from? Who's going to be kissing you? Who are you going to be kissing? And she says, Tom Cruise. And I, again, barf. Like, ew.
Oh my god.
That would have been such a big deal, though, back in
Yeah.
the day.
I
That
know.
would've been,
Back
like,
then,
such
it would have
a
been like,
moment.
oh, heartthrob. Well, but I'm like, well, that's going to give Noel an even bigger complex
It
than
wouldn't
he
age
already
well.
has. But I guess good for her. It'll probably be a big smash if Tom Cruise is in it, but also like, oh, be safe.
Yeah.
Then back in Felicity's room, she looks awful. She's all sweaty, but for some reason, she gets up, decides she's got to go out. Megan freaking out. "What are you doing? Like, where are you going? You're standing. Why?" She says that, yeah, she's just, "I gotta go, gotta get out." Megan says, "Too tired to insult you." But Felicity heads to David's and she's masked up. She was way ahead of
Mhm.
her time. Like,
Yeah.
never saw people wearing masks. So good for her. She's got her N95 on, knocks on the door. David opens up. She says that she had to come. So she asks for a chair. She comes in and sits down. But then, curiously, she takes the mask off to talk to him. I'm like, no, the point of the mask
Mm.
is to keep it on, but she's taking it off.
Cinematically, it
I
would not
know
have
it's a
mattered.
metaphor, again, letting the guard down type of thing. So she takes the mask off and tells him that she's sorry that he's not comfortable with this potential relationship because she wants to see where this us could go. Then she says that if she wasn't pretty sure she had mono, she'd grab him and kiss him right now. And David pulls the little wheelie off his chair a little closer to him and says, "So give me mono." And
Mhm.
they kiss.
Oh,
And I
nice.
thought that was very cute.
That's sweet.
And she had started to put the mask back
Mhm, mhm.
on, and he pulls it down
That was
so that they
Mm,
could
that was
kiss.
that was
hot.
It
nice.
was hot. And again, with the whole like lowering your guard, she was
Mhm.
like, "All right," putting my guard back up. And like they both had to drop their guard in that moment. And yeah, I thought that was very cute.
That was cute.
Yeah, in translation, so "Give me mono" translates to "Break my heart, bitch, I'm ready."
Mm.
He is I mean, yeah, it's like, "All
It
right."
really yeah, I don't know what it was about her coming over and saying all that that, like, suddenly turned him, though, like, I like the moment, but I'm like, "Bro, don't trust her." Like, I wouldn't if I was him, realistically, if you got broken up the way that you did and you found out that there was a sexual tension between
Mhm.
your almost somebody you're seeing person
Yeah.
and her ex, like, would you be like, "Yeah, give me mono, bring it
No, it would
on."
take a hell of a lot
No.
more than that. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, like, he didn't know about Noel calling Ruby Felicity. Like, all he heard was like, "Oh, yeah, we dated."
He didn't need to know all that, and he was already had his guard up before all that even happened,
Yeah.
so he didn't need that much information,
I guess it's just to me
period.
like there wasn't really a good reason for him to not trust what she was saying.
I woulda scurried the fuck away. I woulda been on a different planet. I woulda transferred to Palo Alto. I've been like, "I'm going to Stanford now, I'll see you later."
Okay. Just from the vibes that you were getting in that
Yeah.
the eyelash moment? Okay.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
Yeah,
mean,
if
they
he
were intense.
already had some mistrust,
Yeah.
yeah. Even if somebody didn't have mistrust, like, the way he did coming into it, I think somebody would've been like, "Ugh, I don't know about
But
all this bullshit,
also,
like, this is too messy."
there's always a reason to, like, not open up and not trust someone and be vulnerable. Like, there's always that risk that you're gonna
Let's
get hurt.
ignore all the red flags then and just go for it.
I'm not saying that. It's not like she's a murderer. Like,
Well, it's not a
okay, she
risk.
had
I
some
think
chemistry with an ex, but
yeah, I think there's a difference between a risk and a red flag, though. Like,
alright.
any of us can get our hearts broken. It's yes, we're always taking a risk. Fine. But we don't always have to run face first into a red flag and ignore it.
Okay.
That's some red flag shit.
I mean, they have a closeness for sure, but, yeah, I don't know. From what he saw, not Ruby's side. Ruby, that to me was the even bigger red flag. For him, all he knew was like, "Oh, yeah, we dated, but it's over now."
Mhm.
I think he was almost, like, looking for a reason to not trust her.
He even said, though, in that moment, like, "You can't judge so soon after a breakup." And she's like, "Oh, no, that wasn't even the guy I broke up with." And then he's like, "Well, now I'm really in trouble because it was, like, 2 breakups ago, and you're still having this tension. Like, that's even worse," is what he was saying. Like,
Okay.
that's even heavier than just your most recent ex. Like, if it was Ben,
Mhm.
it's like, it's worse. Like, this is old shit that won't die. If it's 2 exes ago, that's terrible. That's extra alarming. So, he's a fool. Good for him.
Oh.
Congratulations, David. Go run and
Well,
tell your mama.
and
Like,
here I was gonna say, I actually like this arc so far in the series because it feels lighter. There's more funny, like there's funnier moments. I feel like season one, mid-season got real heavy, like
oh,
heavy,
absolutely. Yeah.
fast.
Around this
And so
point, yes.
I like that at this point, it's a little light. She's still exploring the new Felicity with her haircut, like she's dating an older man now. And she's almost the one like pursuing the physical. Well, for now, she's the one pursuing the physical rather than like, Noel or Ben or whatever. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, feels lighter and more fun at the moment.
It's nice to see her confidence building.
Yeah.
It's just like, why is she surrounding herself by all these insecure men? What is going on? There's no shortage of insecure men surrounding her. Like, what is she? That
I think
sucks.
you just said it. There's no shortage of insecure men,
Yeah,
period.
period. Exactly. Exactly. Ugh. Case closed.
There's a lot of them out there. It's hard to
Yeah,
find the
that's the truth.
emotionally intelligent or
Oh, that
elevated
hurts
ones.
my heart. That hurts me inside my spirit.
Sorry,
So
I'm the
real. It's
jaded
so
single
real.
girl on the pod.
I'm a dated married girl, whatever. Like, I fucking hate everybody. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's awful. Well, I guess this show's pretty realistic.
I mean, yeah, that's why I think it's a good episode because I think it's very relatable. A lot of people are afraid to let their guard down and trust again after being hurt. I mean, even Felicity too. Like she, got burned by Ben, and now she's still hanging on with Noel, but probably realizes she's got to move on too because Noel's moving on with Ruby, right? So I think, yeah, it's always hard to move on, but she's exploring her new self, new Felicity.
Yeah, and I forgot what happens after this, so I'm like stuck. I'm very present minded. Like I'm just in this episode right now.
Mm.
I have huge gaps in my memory for so many things, like even life stuff. So for a show, yes, like there's a black void there. I don't know what's
Oh,
going on.
maybe
I'm
maybe I've
thinking this like
maybe I've
new.
rewatched these a lot more because, yeah, I like remember this. I think season 2 is strong. I don't know. I like
I
season
know
2 a
some
lot.
other parts a little bit later
Okay.
down at the end of season 2, but like this little middle chunk here, I'm like, I see nothing. It's just
Mm.
black. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm probably saying some weird shit, and they're gonna be like, "You know what's happening in 2 episodes. Why are you saying this stupid shit? Your theories are bunk." Whatever. I'm going episode by episode right now at this moment. I do have some understanding of some later episode stuff though.
I actually
Just
forgot that
carry
they
on.
like went on the double date
Yeah.
together, but like
Mm.
I remembered the getting sick and the mono, and
Mhm.
then, he does kiss her, but I forgot that like that happened to cause him to pull back again. So I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. They went on the date together." What a disaster. Terrible
Oopsies.
idea. And yeah, the next episode I know very vividly too.
No idea
Because
what
there's
happens next.
That good okay, I was gonna say the doggy one. I feel like the doggy one and this one are so similar
they
themes.
are.
I kinda thought they both happened in one episode, and then I watched 'em.
And they
So,
just flip.
yeah.
We can talk about it
Yeah.
next week, but they
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
Oh.
flip trading
Well, this
places.
is this is
Mhm.
crazy because, again, I had no 90210 reference, so I got so down into the rabbit hole of this show just like last time, like,
No mono
"Oh,
on 90210?
I don't think so."
Mm.
Oh, hold on.
I am
No, I'll have
sure
to get back
someone
to you.
had sex and said someone's name wrong in 90210, don't you think?
Absolutely.
That's gotta be a popular trope.
Well, that's what that
Yeah.
trope, but I'm just trying to think, like, did anybody get mono? I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I can't pull any references, but there are a couple of specific dog episodes in 90210, so I'll be back and ready next time.
Amazing. Well, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy out there this Halloween. We'll be back next time with a dog-themed episode.
And don't trust anyone.
Never let your guard down.
Oh, no, that reminds me of Teacup. We should have had a shout out for Teacup too, because Scott Speedman's in that, and that's a spooky season watch. So if y'all aren't watching Teacup now, you should check it out.
You all will have to enjoy that on my behalf.
Mm.
Well, yeah, it's good, and yeah, there's an element of not being able to trust others. So that's what sparked my memory for it.
Mm.
So everybody enjoy Teacup if you're not already watching it.
I'm gonna go watch Scream 3 with Noel.
That's
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. Watch all 3. All right. Well, don't eat too much candy.
Yeah, stay healthy, don't eat too much candy, and we will talk to you all for the next episode.
Bye.
Felicity Was Here is produced, written, and edited by Heather, Melissa, and Dr. Joe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Felicity Was Here Pod. If you're enjoying the pod, please leave us a review and help us spread the word. We appreciate you and would love to hear from Felicity superfans like us. So send us your feedback, ask us your burning questions, or just say hey at felicitywasherepod@gmail.com. We may even read your note in a future episode.